Hello, my most amazing art students. So today what I have decided to do is we're going to go ahead and work on filling in our drawing with colors. And I think we will go ahead and use Crayola markers to give us some definition or some differences in those colors. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and erase what I've drawn here, because I don't really want a fence going down the middle of my field. I kind of feel like it's a little bit distracting on my artwork. Okay, so that being said, I'm just going to take some different colors. I'm going to go based off the palette that I had in my original, and we're just going to pretend we have like different things growing. This is a bit of an abstract, so I'm just gonna, I don't even know what this, these are some type of flower. Maybe this is a flower farm. They actually have those. So, and not just in Holland. I know California has some places that's all they do is grow flowers. So, just fill in each section. I'm doing little circles here. All right. And I think I might go ahead and add just a little green. It's not dark enough. That's really yellow. My green crayon is, these almost look like little corns. Add some green into there so when I go over it with a different color that pops out as well. And the more solidly you color your vegetables or whatever they are, the more they will resist when we go to color over them and pop up. Okay, so let's see. And then you can use different types of marks too. Maybe you're just doing a little V scribble or W scribble for these ones. It doesn't matter. So what I want you guys to do is fill in your whole drawing, but I'm going to go in, this is what I want you to do for the fields. Notice that I'm not tilting, I'm trying not to, I kind of did right there. I'm going horizontally across the paper because that is what helps our perspective to work, is when we work in a horizontal and vertical plane and let the perspective lines do, have the perspective. Because if we start to tilt all of our things, then it won't look like it's in perspective. Things will look off. So we don't want our crayon lines to tilt at an angle. We want them to follow this horizontal, vertical thing that we've already drawn out. So I'm going to go ahead and move on just to show you how I kind of create the tree. Like in architecture school, we call it, it's just a representation of a tree. So you kind of use that, like we call it scumbling, where you kind of scribble around and make it look like there's leaves on the, and you don't have to draw every individual one, but you kind of create these scribble lines that just kind of go all over. And this is a technique that takes practice. And so don't feel bad if you don't have it down. It's just something that you can work on. And I use different colors to kind of show the highlights that the sun might be, hitting this tree. These light, that there's openings within the branches. And one thing you guys might not know about is atmospheric perspective, which means when you look at mountains, and the things that are closest to you are darkest. They have the most detail, and as they go off in the distance, things get lighter. So you want to kind of reserve your darkest colors for those shapes and stuff that you have in the foreground or in the midground. The stuff that's in the background gets lighter and lighter. And so I'm just going to, so those are my two trees that I've drawn. Just going to give the hint of a trunk here, because we are going to paint over these things. So, and then my cloud up here, I'm just going to go ahead and, as best I can, color kind of in a horizontal wispy cloud fashion. It's okay that the pencil's getting picked up because we are, like I said, going to add that blue paint over. And I know we can't see the white, but I'm just kind of using those lines that I've drawn as a guideline. And it doesn't have to be, I always say this, it doesn't have to be perfect because art is all about experimentation. So please don't worry. And I did add another one in there. So for my farmhouse, my barn, I think what I'm going to do is do the vertical lines like as if it was barn slats. And I don't even know if they would be the other way. Maybe they were horizontal. I don't know. But give it some texture with using my crayon in that manner. Again, when we're going to the side of the building, we're doing that same thing. We're using the vertical lines. We don't want to use the angle. All of these lines would be vertical. Because if we start to angle them, then our perspective gets thrown off. All right, and then kind of had this interesting green color, except for I didn't draw a door. How are we getting in this building? I have no idea. There, now I have a doorway into here, and maybe we'll draw, maybe we'll have a round window over the top. Okay, and again, maybe we'll just do horizontal with this one. And then what's different, if we're going to go horizontal, right, is that these horizontal lines need to follow that perspective tilt because it has to go along with the lines. And I'm just going to do gray roof. Oops, I forgot to do the top of this. And maybe we'll just have this go a different direction just to show that it's a different part of the building. And then the roof is going to follow. My lines are going to follow that. And I forgot to do the top part of this building as well. Tiny spaces and crayons do not play well together. And I'm going to color these windows, just to show that there's depth going on there. And I'm going to use my white crayon to color in this X. Now it turned gray because my pencil. But I want that to resist. And then I'm going to color in my door with my same blue. All right. Brown fence here. You guys get a picture, right? You're just going to color in all the things. Now the mountain is a little bit different story because in my original one I didn't even show you it finished. But what I thought we could do is use some different colors and we can create this texture of kind of a mountainous boulder. And I'm doing that scribbling. Notice I didn't start on the line that I had drawn with the pencil because I'm going to go back with my gray and kind of do, that's my top line. We're going to mix our colors, show that rocky outcropping. We might put a few green patches in there. You know, maybe we have some vegetation growing on the side of this mountain. But remember, we're going to add this watercolor. You know, we're going to use the markers to watercolor. So it doesn't have to be all the way colored in. On time. All right. I'm going to add this gray in some different areas, add some shadowing. And I might add another, maybe we have this coniferous or evergreen tree over here. That kind of grows up. Maybe we have two. That is such a bright green. Oh, let's add a little bit of blue in there to kind of tone it down. Let's see. go. That's more to my liking. And then maybe there's just another smaller one. Now, pine trees are interesting little things to draw because you can get the look just very simply by doing that scumbling back and forth. And maybe we're going to add some shadowing to this bush or whatever I drew up here on the side. Maybe there's just some other stuff going. I kind of feel like I'm Bob Ross right now. And then there's a happy little tree over here. A happy little tree. Okay. So, of course, we're not done with I expect you guys to finish all of your fields, and we're not done. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is give you a heads up on how we're going to color. I'm just going to draw over these pencil lines with the marker. Okay. Just like that. And then I'm going to take my brush that has just water on it, and I'm going to pull the pigment into the center of that piece of field. Just kind of not really scrubbing, but swiping my brush back and forth. Now, what you don't want to do is do two sections right next to each other. You want this to dry before you do this section. But I think I would do orange over here. You want a little bit of contrast, and if you want to do, I mean, you guys are free to do whatever colors you want. For the tree, let's see. Go ahead and just add some color scribbled over the top there. And on this one, rinse your brush out really good, and then just paint over the top. I'm going to grab some tissue. Sorry. And dab that up. Now I'm going to do that same. I didn't add any green over here. Add some green here. And then water. I still have green on my brush, so I can water over those trees. So let's see what color I want to do. My house, or my barn. Let's color over it with this lovely aqua color. What is this called? Sea foam green. And then pull that sea foam green all the way around. Now, if you have too much crayon, I'm just noticing, you have too much crayon, you can color on a plate or a slick surface and pick up that color and then paint over the top, just like this. Because I do have a lot of crayon on there, and so it's resisting the marker laying down. Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and paint over that doorway. And then for this guy, this little building next door, got this fun green color. There. And then for the sky, let's go ahead and play around with that. I think I'm going to go with a lighter blue. And I'm just going to add blue at the top and just kind of scribble around here. So I'm going to be adding quite a bit of color, or water, sorry, not color, water. I'm going to grab a little bit bigger paintbrush, just because I'm covering such a, oops, and look, that's why you let it dry, because I just moved my pigment around. Okay, it'll be fine, because I'm going to, so you want to swish that brush around, and I want you to go over where you drew the clouds and fill those clouds in, because that white crayon that you laid down should resist. Try not to get into those trees, because that green will come off into your sky. We want blue in between our trees, though. There we go. And I did draw some white over here. I don't know if you guys are I colored in some white over there where I hadn't drawn with pencil. So that's getting picked up quite nicely. All right. And then if you're like, that's not dark enough for me, I would like a little bit more color, you can go back in. Actually, you can use the plate like we did and pick up the color there. Add a little bit more color where you think it needs to be darkened. And you can even use the darker blue color in the same way. Just make a watercolor out of it and add some darker areas in the sky. So that's kind of how you do it. I think I like the darker on this cloud that I didn't outline, so because it pops forward a little bit better. Now, the mountain, we're going to go ahead with the brown. I'm just going to, that brown's really dark. Just going to scribble a little bit on there, and then I'm going to spread it out. I rinsed my brush out. Go over the top of that bush, since we already did that. These trees. It lightens up quite a lot. There we go. I like how these pine trees are resisting the brown there. It's looking pretty cool. So, and then you can dab off. If you feel like there's too much puddling going on, use a little tissue and dab off the areas. So, I'm going to continue working on this and finishing my fields. I can't wait to see what your finished product looks like. Thanks for joining me today, guys.